Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we are diving into the heart of the Korg Multipoly, a brand new synth that's been creating some serious buzz. We found this in-depth review from a European music tech website. And let me tell you, it's packed with specs, user opinions, even some comparisons to other synths. So our mission today is, I guess, to break it all down, so you can decide, is this the synth of your dreams or maybe the synth of your nightmares? We'll see. The review we have here is really positive, but they do say it could be a little complex for beginners.
Well, what's really fascinating to me is Korg seems to be writing a love letter to the past, but with like a futuristic kind of twist. They're blending classic analog warmth with digital innovation in this multipoly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break down this analog-digital hybrid concept. The review talks about virtual voice cards that mimic old-school analog circuits. So can you break that down a bit for us? What does it actually mean for the sound?
So imagine, instead of physical components, you are using software to recreate the behavior of analog circuits. And because these virtual voice cards are always oscillating, you get this truly organic feel to the sound. It's rich, it's evolving. You even get these subtle variations between each note. And that's really different from a lot of digital synths, which can sound a bit sterile.
Gotcha. It's like they capture the soul of an analog synth, but in a digital format.
Exactly. And that leads us to one of the Multipoly's most impressive specs, 60 voice polyphony.
Whoa, okay. 60 voices. That's a lot. Can you explain why that's such a big deal?
Okay, so imagine this. You could play this huge, massive chord and layer a ton of sounds on top of each other. And every single note will ring out clearly, no dropouts. It's crazy. This kind of polyphony just opens up a whole world of possibilities for these really rich and complex textures, especially for genres like ambient or film scoring, where layering is super key.
Yeah, okay. Layering heaven. But 60 voices is only part of the story, right? What about the oscillators?
So you get 4 oscillators per program, which is already quite a lot. And then they add in noise and ring modulation for even more texture. And get this, you can actually combine 4 of these programs into a single performance. So we are talking incredibly thick, layered sounds.
Wow, you really can sculpt your own sonic universe with this thing.
Yes, exactly. And they even include some unique features for shaking these sounds. Have you ever heard of motion sequencing 2.0?
It rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
It's the sequencer that lets you create these evolving patterns, and not just for notes, but for all sorts of parameters. You can create intricate modulations and rhythmic textures that really breathe life into your sounds. It's kind of like having a built-in AI sound designer working alongside you.
Okay, that's intriguing. Now, what about this chaos physics, the war? The review made it sound like a wild feature.
Oh, it is. Just imagine like a virtual ball bouncing around in this field, and it triggers different sound parameters depending on where it is and how it moves. It's unpredictable. It adds this element of controlled chaos to your sound design. You never really know what you're going to get, which can be a really fun way to experiment.
I love that. So we've got this crazy powerful engine under the hood, but is it user-friendly? Could I pick this thing up and start playing right away, or is there like a huge learning curve?
That's where things get interesting. The review highlights this incredibly detailed interface. It gives you direct access to a ton of parameters. So for experienced synthesists who crave that hands-on control, it's amazing. It's a dream come true. But for someone who's just starting out, it might be a bit overwhelming, like being handed the controls to a spaceship.
So maybe not the best choice for a first synth then.
Yeah, probably not. It seems like Korg is targeting this towards more seasoned sound designers and experienced synthesists who are looking for a deep, versatile instrument that they can really get lost in.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about the sound itself. What kind of sonic palette are we dealing with here?
The reviewers describe the sound as rich and deep, capable of a wide range of sonic textures, from warm, vintage analog emulations to like cutting-edge modern soundscapes.
Okay, but can you get more specific? Like, paint me a picture. What does it actually sound like?
Well, imagine this. You have this classic analog warmth combined with the crispness and clarity of digital synthesis. It's like the best of both worlds. And the effects section. It's really comprehensive. EQ, chorus, flanger, phaser, reverb, delay, you name it. It's probably in there.
Okay, so this is a sonic chameleon. It can adapt to any style, any genre. I'm starting to understand why people are so excited about this.
And that excitement really comes through. In the user feedback from the review, people are really raving about the detailed analog emulation, the vast polyphony, and those innovative control options like chaos physics.
So it's living up to the hype.
It seems like it. But there are a few criticisms as well. People mainly complain about the learning curve and the lack of a larger display. Navigating all the menus and parameters on a small screen can be a bit challenging, especially for those who are new to complex synths.
So it's a trade-off. You get all this power and flexibility, but at the cost of user-friendliness.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a common dilemma in the synth world. And what's really interesting is that a lot of the alternatives mentioned in the review also have small displays. It seems like it's almost a necessary evil for modern synths.
Okay, so to sum up, who exactly is this Korg Multipoly for?
If you're an experienced synthesist or sound designer who's looking for a powerful, versatile instrument that can push your creative boundaries, then the Multipoly might be your new best friend. But if you're a beginner, you might want to start with something a little more user-friendly. This is a synth that demands dedication and a willingness to explore its depths.
So for those who dare to dive deep, the Multipoly seems to offer a world of sonic possibilities. But what about those of us who are looking for something a little less daunting?
Well, that's where the alternatives come in. The review explores a pretty diverse lineup of synths, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. Let's take a look at some of those options after a quick break.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back. So if the Multipoly sounds a little intimidating, don't worry. The review also looks at some alternatives that might be a better fit, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, because let's be real, not everybody needs a synth with the complexity of a NASA control panel.
Right.
Some people might prioritize ease of use,
right,
portability,
very
which is a different sound.
Absolutely. The review highlights a couple options that are really interesting. One is the sequential Prophet 510. It's a total icon in the synth world.
Yeah, okay. Even I've heard of the Prophet. It's known for that. Classic, warm analog sound, right?
Exactly. And it's a great example of a synth that prioritizes hands-on control. So instead of menus and submenus, you have a knob for practically every parameter. It's very intuitive, very immediate.
So if you're really into that tactile experience of tweaking knobs and shaping sounds, the Prophet 510 might be a better choice than the Multipoly.
Yeah, it could be, especially if you're after that pure analog sound. The Prophet 510 is all about capturing the essence of those vintage synths that shape the sound of so many genres.
Okay, so that's one end of the spectrum. Pure analog bliss with the Prophet 510. What about something that blends analog and digital, like the Multipoly?
Well, the review mentions the Roland Jupiter XM as another compelling option.
Ooh, a Roland. I've heard great things about their synths.
They have a great reputation for a reason. The Jupiter XM is interesting because it combines multiple sound engines, including Roland's Encore technology, which blends those classic analog models with modern digital synthesis. And it's super portable, which is great if you're on the go.
All right, so that covers the hybrid approach. But what about something that really pushes the boundaries of digital synthesis? The Multipoly is obviously innovative, but are there other synths out there exploring similar territory?
Absolutely. The review brings up the ASM Hydrosynth, which is really well known for its wavetable synthesis capabilities and these powerful modulation options.
Okay. Can you explain wavetable synthesis? Those who don't speak fluent synth.
So imagine you have a table full of different waveforms, those visual representations of sound. Wavetable synthesis lets you morph between those waveforms, which creates these incredibly rich and dynamic sounds. The Hydrosynth is particularly good at this, and it gives you so much control over how the sounds evolve over time.
So if someone is really into sound design and crafting these unique experimental sounds, the Hydrosynth might be a good option.
It's definitely worth looking into. There's one more alternative in the review that I think is worth mentioning, the Behringer Poly D.
Okay, what's special about this one?
It's a clone of the Mini Moog Model D, which is one of the most iconic and sought-after synths of all time.
Oh, the Mini Moog. That's a name that everyone recognizes, even if they're not a synth enthusiast.
Right. And the Behringer Poly D captures that classic, fat analog sound at a surprisingly affordable price.
So it's like a gateway drug to the world of analog synths.
Yeah, you could say that. It's a great way to experience that legendary Mini Moog sound without breaking the bank.
Okay, so we've got a handful of alternatives here that cover a pretty wide range of approaches to synthesis. We've got the pure analog warmth of the Prophet, the hybrid power of the Roland Jupiter XM, the experimental digital sounds of the Hydrosynth, and even a budget-friendly Mini Moog clone with the Behringer Poly D.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to think about, but I think it's important to remember that these are just a few examples. There's so many other synths out there that could be a perfect fit for you.
That's a good point. This deep dive is just a starting point, a way to spark your curiosity and get you thinking. about what's out there. But let's get back to the Korg Multipoly for a second. The review mentions that it draws inspiration from some of Korg's earlier synths, like the Monopoly and the Waves State.
Monopoly was released back in the 80s, and it was groundbreaking for its time. It combined monophonic and polyphonic capabilities, meaning you could play single notes or chords, and it had this amazing arpeggiator that could create these hypnotic, pulsating patterns. The Wave State, on the other hand, is a much more recent synth, but it's still incredibly innovative. It's known for its wave sequencing, which allows for super complex, evolving sounds.
So it tells me the Multipoly is building on a legacy of innovation, taking those classic core concepts and pushing them even further.
Exactly. That's what's so exciting about the synth. It's not just a rehash of old ideas. It's a genuine step forward, a fusion of the past and the future.
I love that. Okay, so we've established that the Multipoly is a powerful, innovative instrument. But the big question remains, who's going to be using this thing? Can you picture any specific artists or genres that would be drawn to its unique capabilities?
Oh, absolutely. Let's explore those sonic possibilities after a quick break.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back to speculate wildly about who might tame the Korg Multipoly. Okay, so we're back. We explored the ins and outs of the Korg Multipoly. We've talked about some alternatives, and now it's time for some pure speculation.
Yeah.
What kind of artists, what kind of musicians do you see gravitating towards this synth?
I think the Multipoly is going to appeal to artists who aren't afraid to experiment, people who are always pushing the boundaries and searching for new sonic territories, like Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails. He's known for those dark industrial soundscapes. The Multipoly's raw power and sonic depth would be right up his alley.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. That combination of analog grit and digital precision would be perfect for creating those intense, layered textures that 9 Inch Nails is known for.
Exactly. And I could also see film composers like Hans Zimmer being drawn to the Multipoly. Think about those epic cinematic scores, those moments where the music swells and transports you to another world. The Multipoly has that depth and richness to create those immersive soundscapes.
Oh, I could totally picture it. Some grand, sweeping melody layered with intricate textures and those subtle sonic details all building to this incredible emotional crescendo. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Right. And we can't forget about experimental pop. Someone like Björk, who is always pushing the boundaries of sound and technology, could do amazing things with the Multipoly. Imagine her ethereal vocals layered over those complex, evolving synth textures. It would be amazing.
Oh my God. That is a collaboration I would love to hear. Björk with a Multipoly. It'd be like a sonic odyssey.
Absolutely. And I also think, on a more practical level, the Multipoly could be really huge for session musicians and producers who need a versatile instrument that can cover a wide range of styles. It's got the depth and flexibility to create anything from classic analog sounds to cutting-edge digital textures, which would make it so valuable in a studio setting.
It's like Swiss Army knife of synths.
Yes, exactly. It's a synth that adapts to the needs of the musician rather than the other way around. And that brings us back to you, the listener. If you had a Multipoly at your fingertips, what sonic worlds would you create? What musical boundaries would you push?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? It's a blank canvas, a tool for sonic exploration. It all comes down to the imagination and the creativity of the person using it.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. We explored the technical details, we considered the alternatives, but ultimately it's up to you to decide what role an instrument like this could play in your own musical journey.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Korg Multipoly, I think it's safe to say that this is a synth that is going to spark a lot of creativity and innovation in the years to come. It's a real testament to the power of blending that classic analog warmth with cutting-edge digital technology. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be featuring your Multipoly creations on a future episode of The Deep Dive.
Until then, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep diving deep.